Now we're going to get into some wrestling. And before we get into our topics, I just want to let everyone know out there, April 3rd is the pay-per-view. I guess they don't call it a pay-per-view anymore.
It's a WWE Network event.
That's how you know I'm 90s, because I'm like, it's the pay-per-view.
I think you can
and everybody would know.
I think you can still get it on pay-per-view, but yeah.
So, yeah, the WWE event is WrestleMania. It's April 3rd. Fred, I, and Will are going to sit down and watch the thing. I'm probably going to make fun of it more than actually take any of it seriously, as I normally do. Just because when I see a bunch of muscly dudes covered in baby oil throwing each other around and announcers, like, just selling it, like they came across a free pallet of eggs, and they're just like, we got to make some money off this shit. Sell the fuck out of it. So yes, WrestleMania with Will, Fred, and myself.
Special WrestleMania podcast.
Special podcast.
Look forward to it. Always enjoy talking some wrestling.
If I wanted to, I could sue Fred because he made that graphic using my all my stuff, and I didn't say, hey, take it. Might go to court. I don't know. If Hogan sees that we used his face in our graphic, he might. He already sued Gawker.
We used Terry Bollea's face, not Hogan's. So
yeah, it's true. I used it twice. Fred's got it in his, and I put it on mine. So I'm just like, I'm rearing up for a court battle.
Yeah. Cease and desist from the honorable Terry Bollea.
Honorable. All right, so Sting is retiring.
Which I was glad to hear this, because when he sustained that neck injury early, well, actually might have been late last year at this point, in a match with, it was late last year, in a match with Seth Rollins, where he was powerbombed into a turnbuckle, and his neck went back, and he lost feeling in his extremities. And they finished the match, and then afterwards it came out that there was an injury, and people started saying, "Oh, Sting, are you done?" And he's just like, "I'm not saying I'm done," and all that. But now he's come out, and now it was reported earlier today on earlier on Thursday on Bleacher Report, that he was in fact retiring, quickly on the heels of Daniel Bryan's retirement. I think it's a good call. He's in his 50s. I know everybody's just like, no, we wanted the Undertaker-Sting match. You know what? WWE botched the hell out of that. They should have did it before now. There was no point in doing it now because it wouldn't be a good match. I hate to say it. They're two great legends, but right now they can't carry a match. And to have them both in the ring at this point in their careers would have just been sad.
That's the thing that's getting... It's getting sad about these things. Is a lot of these main event things that they're running, like, They keep bringing in all these really old wrestlers that you just look on their faces and tell they're just like, I want to be done.
Yeah.
Like, they're raking me over the fucking coals because I sign a Legends contract, and that means at the drop of a fucking hat, I gotta be there,
make an appearance,
get my old ass into this ring and wrestle.
Yeah. I mean, some of the guys, like a few years back, Ricky Steamboat came out of retirement and wrestled a match, and he still was doing well. But Ricky Steamboat got out at a younger age, and he didn't have the damage done to his body that some of the other guys have had. So I'm glad that for his health and his well-being that he's walking off into the sunset. I'm glad he got to participate at a WrestleMania last year. Yeah, the match kind of sucked, and the whole NWO thing was kind of weird, but at least he got there. He got his moment. He got his entrance with the weird Japanese drums and such. But
yeah, that was weird.
But they can do so much with him for appearances, making appearances at charities and whatnot. You could do DVD sets around him. I think they already done one. Mm-hmm. And just doing like interviews, like JBL does a thing called Legends with JBL, where he interviews these guys and they break the fourth wall and talk about things. And like I watched one recently with Ron Simmons where he was talking about his dad leaving him growing up. His dad just drove away and never came back. And he had to, he went to college for football, and it went through his whole life going up to.
That's interesting.
It was pretty cool. And they did one with the Road Dogg where he talked about having drug issues. and how he, when he served time in a Desert Storm and all that stuff, and it kind of goes behind the scenes. And I'd love to see a segment like that with Sting, because Sting, a lot of people remember him from WCW, but he wrestled before that.
Yeah.
He was actually a tag team partner with the Ultimate Warrior. It was Rock and Sting, and they were known as the Blade Runners.
Rock and Sting.
And that was back in the AWA.
Rock and
So
Sting.
I'm glad that he's getting out before he's paralyzed, or before he has to go through any more surgeries. Because the older you get, the less you bounce back from these kinds of things, the more damage it becomes permanent. And definitely one of the best wrestlers of all time. Not the best in my opinion, but the most memorable. I mean, when he was surfer, bright neon, flashy Sting, when he was like super babyface, or even when he was Dark Crow Sting. I mean, well, okay, maybe not Wolfpack Sting, but anyway, or in TNA when he was Joker Sting, which I enjoyed. I'll admit I enjoyed that.
Joker Sting?
Yeah, you have to go back and watch some of those YouTube videos. But
what, do you have like a purple trench coat?
He had like makeup that was like, his face paint was like all smeared around, like the red smile and stuff, and he was like laughing at everything, and he went like full Joker.
God damn it.
So good for him, getting out now before more damage could be done. And I hope that this sets a precedent for guys that hopefully have the ability to walk away rather than just wheel away in a wheelchair.
Right.
Or in a casket.
So, I think about like when they did those like casket matches and like the people are thrown into those caskets. I'm like, that kind of seems like a bad omen.
Well, that's what
some of those people
that's what
did
hurt
die.
Shawn Michaels back the first time, was a casket match with the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Pretty much ended his career, and then he of course had his comeback, but yeah, he sustained damage when he was slammed on top of one, and yeah, definitely an omen.
Well, Sting, it is slightly sad to see you go, because there was that match that they could have done, that everybody wanted. I mean, that was almost up there with like the whole Hogan-Sting match during the NWO phases.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone wanted that. And, that's the one thing I'll give Bischoff credit for, is that back then he was writing some grade A shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the stuff they were putting together was well thought out. The stories were great. Like, who would have thought to ever, like, have a dummy fall from the fucking, like, sky, like the skylights into the goddamn, like, ring, bust through it, and then, like, oh, it's the fake Sting. And then the real Sting's actually hiding under the goddamn ring, waiting for that thing to break down through. And he just comes out with a bat and starts beating everybody.
It was good until they started giving guys contracts where they could control their own creative, and then that's where it all went downhill, because everybody wanted to put themselves over their friends over.
Well, yeah, that's when it started getting nuts, and there were all the other WO factions.
Yeah.
I remember that. I hadn't watched for a while, and I came back, I'm like, so there's the LWO now, and there's the Wolfpack, and there's the NWO's still around, but it's less of the people I care about. And
yeah, it's like Virgil and Kurt Hennig and Scott Norton and Horace Hogan and.
I mean, they even did it. They even had, I think, if I remember correctly, there was even a part where they had like Sting join the NWO just to be able to get in there to like basically enact a revenge on them at a great moment. Mm-hmm. So he just like faked it all just so he could beat the shit out of them later.
And there were several guys that were in the NWO, got kicked out, ended up coming back. There was swerves back and forth.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to the NWO, the person who changed more by becoming a member of the NWO than anybody else was Scott Steiner.
Oh, yeah.
Because when he joined the NWO and he had the blonde hair and
it like
blonde
stuck
goatee,
forever.
He just changed completely from what he was before. And like, if you look at like matches that him and his brother had back in the 80s and early 90s before he went to Big Papa Pump.
But he was tiny.
Yeah.
But he was still ripped as shit then.
Yeah.
But like he didn't look like a goddamn freak.
So yeah.
We need that cover cut out.
Yes. So another thing I want to touch upon real quickly was the WWE did a special event. It was
Roadblocks.
It was called Roadblock,
which was one of the worst wrestlers in the 90s.
Which I get why they came up with the title for it, because we're on the road to WrestleMania, and the last pay-per-view was called Fastlane. So we go Royal Rumble to Fastlane to now we've hit a roadblock before WrestleMania. I see where you were going there, WWE. Touche.
I just picture this in the office. Like, we're on a fast lane, right? Right? But then what happens on a fast lane? They can slow everything down. Roadblock. And Vince is just there like, whoa! I'm glad you're a writer.
The thing is, to have this, it wasn't a pay-per-view. It was only for people that had the network. It was on a Saturday night instead of the normal Sunday night for these.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the matches, I mean, the way it was laid out, it could have basically been an episode of Raw. Because you had matches like Chris Jericho against Jack Swagger. You had the New Day against the League of Nations, which was good. I guess the New Day are now officially face guys. They're good guys now with their unicorn horns and their bootios. And
I'm sorry, what?
I still enjoy New Day.
I am really in for it come the third, aren't I? I have no idea what's going on anymore.
You need to study.
I'm not studying shit.
The two biggest matches of the night were probably the ones that didn't get the most pop of the night, and that was the match that nobody was expecting, because I didn't even think they advertised it, was the NXT Tag Team Championship. Now, for those that don't know, NXT is a show that's specifically on the network. It's about guys in their developmental system, just some of them learning, some of them are older guys helping the younger guys come up. It's just guys before they come up to the main show. So they don't even tour normally with the main crew. They're out of Full Sail University in Florida, where they show most of their events there,
okay,
and they record them there. And some of the guys they have down there are better than the guys on the main roster. Just, they're better, hands down. Better workers, more entertaining. And they had a tag team match on the main show for that tag team belt. And the guys were over so hot that now they're saying that the one tag team, Enzo and Cass, are probably going to get brought up to the main roster because of the reaction they got from the live audience. So that was really cool to see. That was the first time that's ever happened where a developmental title was shown on a main roster show. Then you had Brock Lesnar was supposed to face Bray Wyatt, but Bray Wyatt had a back injury.
Good old Bork.
So Bork Laser had to fight Luke Harper, and he was pretty stiff in that match. He kind of gave Luke Harper a potato there at the beginning. He was really wailing on him.
Really? He still hasn't differentiated.
I don't know if he owes him money or what, but you can tell.
I'm just picturing, like, Brock is just this giant, like, fucking, like, locker room bully back there.
So, I mean, that match was just kind of like, you know, they've been hyping the Wyatt family against Brock since Royal Rumble when they eliminated Brock at the Royal Rumble. Everybody thought it was going to lead to a WrestleMania fight. Instead, they kind of threw it on this show. It's kind of gotten forgotten. But now that Bray is hurt, I can see why they didn't have a plan for the Wyatt family going into WrestleMania. Because, I mean, without Bray Wyatt as the face of that group, those other guys, they're not great talkers. They're just big guys.
That's the voodoo-y people
yeah.
or whatever?
Yeah. So there was that match, which was okay. I mean, anytime Brock's in the ring, you never know what's going to happen. And then there was
kill the guy.
Then there was the title match between Triple H and Dean Ambrose, and it was a good match. But you knew Dean Ambrose did not have a chance because Triple H is going to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. It's the way it is. They're not going to have Dean Ambrose beat him.
Yeah, they're not going to change.
They're not going to change a title this close to WrestleMania. It's just not going to happen. So you kind of knew that it wasn't going to work. But I think that it showed a lot of people that Dean Ambrose can main event a show. And him and Triple H, they had a good match. But the thing is, Triple H, he's getting older. He shouldn't be a full-time wrestler, and he's not right now. I mean, he's getting a few matches in. But
right.
He's getting older, but he could still put on a good match with somebody, and they put on a good match. So as far as Roadblock goes, if you had the network, good for you to watch it. Otherwise, don't worry about it. You didn't miss very much more than what you could have seen on a regular episode of Raw. So,
all right. I guess there's our wrestling.
There you go.
There's some wrestling. All right, so we got.